And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
In what may be one of the more obvious examples of what we call Konglish, or errors in English, here we have a game called Cupeed, which actually just means Cupid, which actually has nothing to do with the game, so we have the spelling errors. Now, I did see this game in its pre-production phase, and I gave some ideas and thoughts on the game to the designer and publisher, who did take a few of them into account, but I had forgotten all about it, and then they sent it to me in the mail, and I thought, they spelled it wrong. Go figure. But anyway, Cupeed, or Cupid, I'm just going to call it Cupid from now on, is a game that has a resemblance to Rumus or other three-dimensional games. You're putting blocks together. But it also has a bit of a take-that aspect to it. And I guess it has a puzzle aspect to it, too. Let me show you.
Cupeed is all about making a 3x3x3 cube, which the game has. In fact, you can play the game, I suppose, as a puzzle, trying to put them together. But each of these different color cubes is made up of different blocks. And each of them is completely different. Alright, so these are the blocks that are involved in the game. At the beginning of the game, players are dealt a handful of cards. Now in these cards, they may get a card like this, which has a 3 red. So I can look for any block that's a 3 red block. Well, there's only one. And I get that piece. And I can put that piece in front of me. And let's say I also got a 3 dark navy blue. So I could take one of the 3 block navy blue ones. And there's other cards involved in the game, but whoever has the fewest blocks to start the game goes first. And on your turn, here's what you do. From the middle of the board, you will draw a card and add it to your hand. You then, if you only have 1 or 2 cards, you're fine. If you have more than 2, up to 5 cards, you must play one of your cards. Or discard a card if you don't want to play any of your cards. Or you're allowed to keep your cards if you discard a piece. And sometimes you do that because you'll have a piece that you do not want. Well, as the game progresses, what you're trying to do, like I said, is you're trying to build a 3x3x3 cube, perfect cube. So if I have a couple pieces here from the different blocks and I'm putting them together, trying to figure out the best way. So I say, okay, here we go. I'm getting pieces, and I just got this piece, and all right, I can see, oh man, that's not going to work because I need a 2-piece there, but possibly I can get another piece that will fit into that spot. There you go. A perfect 3x3 cube. Once I've done that, once I finish that, I've won a round. If you happen to get a perfect cube of one color, which I've not ever seen done, then you'll score 2 points. Now, you're not just, what you're doing on a turn when you play cards, is if you play a card of that type, you can take it. Here I play, I got a 4 red, here I got a 5 red, another 5 red. But there are other cards that you can play. For example, here's a return card. This forces everybody to return a piece to the pile, including yourself if you want. You also have cards that allow you to take any block on the board, a wild card, those are very, very handy. A snatch, where you're stealing the card from another player, or exchange, where you take a block from them and give the block back to yourself. Now, that's very annoying when people do that to you. Fortunately, there are plenty of refusal cards in the game, and you play those when someone plays a card like that on you, stopping them from taking your block. But the game's very interesting because there's piles and piles of ways to put these cubes together, and all the pieces are different. Now, you can build your cube as you're playing, or you can leave it like this, because if you can do it in your head, it's best that other people don't see just how close you are to finishing. And right before you finish, someone's probably going to try to steal your blocks. People are trying to get each other down, but eventually someone's going to finish their cube and they win a round. Like I said, the first person to win 2 rounds wins. If you get one of all the same color, then you've won the game automatically. The translation of the rules themselves, I should mention, is pretty terrible. The cards themselves are fine because there's just a few words on them, and I think you can play just as well from my explanation here as from the rules itself. But it's a very easy game, high quality components, these are very nice blocks, and if nothing else, you can use it as fun puzzles putting together cubes. Now, I will say that I saw this game in pre-production, played it, and gave some feedback, and they actually took a few of the things that I said in the game. I said they should put more of those refusal cards in, so that there's a possibility to block people from always stealing your pieces. But I was taken with it when I first played it. I like these three-dimensional style games. And while the whole take that, do this thing kind of wears on me sometimes, it's done in so many games these days. And here it works okay, because you aren't just randomly stealing a piece from someone else. You're looking and saying, what's the piece that will best help me? Or, what's the piece that is going to really stop this other player from winning? These exchanges can be nasty because you take a piece from somebody and you give them a piece that they can't possibly use, forcing them to use a future turn to discard that piece. And so all this really works together nicely. And like I said, if nothing else, I got 4 puzzles to have kids put together. So, besides the poor name and rules translation, the components are quite well done, and if you like three-dimensional spatial puzzle type games with a bit of a take that flavor, is there even such a thing? This is the game for you.
Thanks for joining us today. For more written, audio, and video reviews, as well as the #1 board game podcast, check out the website at www.thedicetower.com. Until then, this is Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.